This is the Youthful and Useful podcast by Leap Africa.
If we really believe and are invested in the future of this continent, then we would do much more with our youth.
Don't you think there are sufficient investments towards young people collectively in the ecosystem?
No.
What does more look like to you?
What does more look like? So first of all, whatever investment even exists is not equally distributed to these different categories of youth. Some are more underserved than the others.
Yeah.
And guess what? The beauty about young people is that if you make an investment into their agency, the fruits of it, society benefits. The innovations that will come out of them, the products that will come out of them, the music that will come out of them, we'll dance to, the movies that will come out of them, we will listen to, the comedy we will laugh to, the products we will wear them, we will use them, the innovation we will ride them, right? So it's in our best interest to create an enabling environment for young people.
Hello everyone, welcome to this special edition of the Youthful and Useful series, or podcast as we like to call it. My name is Kehinde Ayeni. I'm the Executive Director of Leap Africa, and with me I have a very distinguished guest, a known face in Nigeria, in Africa, and even across the world. When you think about youth development, our guest, none other than Femi Taiwo, is the man that people have come to really recognize for his role in youth development. And so, Femi, welcome to our series today. Very glad to have you.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you so much.
So, we've had a very interesting journey. We're already flashing back to when we first met, or when you and I crossed paths almost like a decade ago. And fast forward, we are here again. We've had deeper relationship via work. And 3 years ago, almost, actually, our 20th anniversary year, we had a 3-way conversation between yourself, myself, and Iyaduni Olubode, who was the executive director before you, and I, who was incoming. So, flashback now, looking back, looking in, what do you think are the leadership transition challenges?
Thank you, Kenny. I think no leadership transition is the same, I would say. But I mean, just reflecting on mine and maybe some other conversations with some other people that have had to transition roles, leadership roles, I would say that for me, it was very personal. I mean, I loved the people I was working with. I loved the organization I was working with. I loved the work that we do. But I knew it was time to hand over for different reasons. So it was a very emotional time for me. I can't say I did everything right, definitely. But for me, it was a season of being very intentional. Being very intentional in the conversations I had with people, making sure people understood why, much more than ever before. Why behind almost anything and everything, every process, every program, every product. Documenting as much. I mean, luckily we have an organization that documented a lot. We had very strong processes, very strong governance systems, so it was quite easy, very, very easy. There was very little or no housekeeping to do, and I think I was particularly lucky that I had you. So you had been a major part of the leadership team. You had, knew everything. You knew every partner. You knew every aspect of the work. You knew the why behind everything, every strategy, everything. So that made my work very easy, very, very easy. And I had a very solid management team as well. So it made the work very easy. So I would say that for me, when I reflect on it, it was trying to be as intentional as possible. Very, very intentional. And I think what even made mine particularly very interesting is the fact that we did it on stealth mode. The entire team didn't know until 1 month before, even though it had started like 16 months before.
Absolutely right.
So that stealth mode did not allow me to some things. Did not allow me, but I was very intentional, because I believed in the mission. I wanted everything to be all right, everything to be spot on. And I would say that probably that was my heart in it all. And I did some things well. I probably did not do some things well. I'll probably go back and do some things better if I had the opportunity to. But I'm happy. I'm happy we landed that well. I'm happy you had the opportunity to take over, and that the organization, is thriving and growing.
Thank you very much, Femi, for that compliment.
Yeah.
That the organization is thriving, and knowing that I knew all I needed in order for me to step into your shoes. I know when we talk about shoes, it can be very dicey. Now you're wearing sneakers, and I have heels on, but shoes are shoes at the end of the day. There are things that people don't think about when we say you're transitioning. You talked about how emotional it was for you, and the why. You needed to be intentional about ensuring you had all the conversations, so you leave on a clean slate and then unburden yourself. So have you had this conversation with anyone else when they asked about how emotional it is for you, and how long did it take you to heal completely from the emotional tension you felt leaving?
Okay, I would say healing, because it wasn't like I was hot. When I say emotional, it's like something especially when you have very strong ownership quotient.
Got it.
Like when you give your all. I remember my wife then used to say that if they just do like this to your blood, it's lip that will come out. It's not blood that will come out. Because I took the mission very seriously and I gave myself to it. And I did enjoy doing that. So I think it was more like winning myself out of lip in a way, right? But I had a good 1 year of trying to do that, especially because I had to be taking a step back, and allowing people to do things, more than they typically do. I mean, we typically had a team of leaders, so everybody was always on top of everything, right? But in that year, I had to intentionally, I remember some people came to have conversations after they knew that I was trying to say, oh, Femi, no wonder you were doing like this, or you were doing like that, or you were doing like that.
The stealth mode.
Yeah, the stealth mode. So I would say for me, it was more about maybe winning myself, of leap, and trying to let myself go of it and open up myself to other possibilities and other realities and other things. So that was more of the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, and if you really give yourself to an organization, you still be emotional about it.
You should
right?
be.
You should be.
It's a large part of your life.
It's a large part of your life. I mean, at that time, it was just 1 month to six years, right? So, yeah, I think that was it for me. It was an easy one. I had clear instructions to run with. I knew I had to let go. I knew I had to forget the former things, even though the former things were exciting. And then I just had to face the future and face new opportunities and new challenges, right? And I'm still on that journey of navigating the true north, but I'm still true to,
as you like to say,
to my assignment.
True north.
Yeah.
So let's talk about youth.
Yeah.
6 years ago, when you started your journey, at a point in time, we started betting on two things. We were betting on education through teachers, our secondary education, and then we were betting on the sustainable development as a way to get young people really invested and active and owning their agency. Now, through the platforms you manage and lead and have been involved in, what do you think are the current crises young people are facing? Have they changed much from those two big bets to where we are now?
I think the conversation of youth is more or less still similar in a way. I mean, have many organizations contributed to, kind of shaping the youth capital? Yes. But I think that even as a lot of investments of time, of effort, of programming and strategies going in, there's still a lot of gap. There's still a lot of gap. I don't think as an ecosystem, I don't think we've done the best job mainstreaming what we know to reach
when
the
you say
vast
we, do you mean Leap Africa, or do you mean
ecosystem?
all the ecosystem, yeah?
As ecosystem. Both the ecosystem, not just we as non-state actors, including the state actors. Because if you look at the burden of youth in Africa and the beauty that demography represents and the possibility that demography represents, I kind of feel like we're not giving it as much as we can give it. We're doing a lot. I'm saying we collectively now, very collectively. In fact, like I said, both state and non-state actors. But I'm saying that if we really, 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 really believe and are invested in the future of this continent, then we would do much more with our youth, because they have everything it takes to take us forward with them or keep us behind with them. And so when you're talking about a critical thing that is important to help empower and enable youth, education. You were talking about education a second ago. The question is, what's the quality of the education that is now available to the vast majority? I'm not talking about the elite schools and the very wonderful programs that might just have a minority in them. When you pick the average young person, if you use Nigeria as an example, when you pick the average young person, say from any region, if you pick 10 randomly, I'm not talking about in Lagos, I'm not talking about Victoria Land or Ikoyi, if you pick 10 from the suburbs, what is the mindset of those people? What's the skill set of that individual, right? What is the aspiration of that individual? How far has that individual realized their agency? And I feel like it's one of the easiest things to do. I don't know, maybe because I just feel like sorting youth out is one of the easiest things to do.
Right.
And especially if we are thinking big picture about the continent, about our country, I feel like it's not an expense. Anything that it costs to upskill youth, to develop youth, to enable youth is not an expense. It's an investment.
Don't you think there are sufficient investment towards young people collectively in the ecosystem?
No.
What does more look like to you?
What does more look like? Let me give you an example. The first thing is that youth is very diverse. Like we say, it's not homogeneous. There are different types of youth. So first of all, whatever investment even exists is not equally distributed to these different categories of youth. Some are more underserved than the others. So let me talk about a category. If you look at Northeast Nigeria, where we've suffered a lot of hostilities over the years, and terrorism, and we have a lot of displaced people. We have a lot of young people who have been displaced, whose education has been cut short, whose growth and opportunities to learn have been kind of hindered over the years. So they've not been able to transition because those structures and systems have been disturbed.
Right.
If you look at those category of youth, what investments have gone to support those people? So let me give you an example. One of the most significant investments that has been trying to bridge the gap was a program called the Opportunities to Learn program that was funded by the USAID. Now that project has been cut short. The whole idea of that project was to strengthen state and non-state actors who were serving youth organizations and creating alternative opportunities for them to learn.
Okay.
To learn skills, to learn, because the school is disrupted. They can't transition. Many of them did not complete high school. A good number, whatever they even completed was just paper, no skill sets. Many of them cannot transition to higher education or to the right skills program. And so we had to, there's a huge gap that needs to be filled, and many actors have to step in or have to be strengthened to create opportunities to learn. And that's why I even like them, opportunities to learn for young people. Right. So if you want to learn digital skills, there are opportunities for you to learn, formal and informal. If you want to learn TVET skills, there are opportunities to learn, very, very, a lot of opportunities basically. But many of those things have been cut short. The fact that it's even primarily driven by a foreign entity already shows you part of the problem.
Got it.
And now that foreign entity has pulled the plug on it.
And nobody is picking it up.
The fact that it wasn't even a priority at scale. I know that there are efforts.
Got it.
Right? By primarily state actors already shows you that we have a big problem. And honestly, how much can we do as non-state actors? Have you, think about it. Yeah. So if there are a couple of $1 million of programming going on for young people, that's scratching the surface.
Yeah.
These ideas, these initiatives, these best practices need to be mainstreamed in regular programming. The question is, where are the youth centers at local government level We are the youth hubs at local government level. We are the TFED programs at local government level that are world class. Right?
World class.
World class, that are adding value and can add value. So that's the way I would measure how far we are doing as an ecosystem. And like I said, this ecosystem is inclusive of state actors alongside
It's a good thing
us.
you spoke about youth hubs and centers, because just even yesterday on the news, I was listening to the number of centers we have in Lagos and what they have going on there, and the need for us to, in my mind, I was thinking we needed more.
Yeah.
35 in Lagos is not enough. And I think they have it in maybe 4 clusters. So Ekwe, Badagry, Ikeja, and another part of Lagos. But I still think, and I wonder, is everyone or every young person in Lagos able to move into these centers? I don't know. And then what's happening in these centers? It begs the question, the role of the government and the private sector. Because another conversation this morning is private sector can actually be a large investor in education or the other streams of youth development as we think about it. So do you think the private sector has really picked up significantly in the more recent years? Let's say in the last 4 years, do you think?
Man, if you ask me, I'm for everybody can do more.
Okay, so everybody.
So a couple of private sector partners are, pulling their weight in a way. I've seen, there was a coalition on youth unemployment, that I know that was driven by Coca-Cola, Joberman and a couple of people.
Yeah.
Very good efforts. MTN Foundation is doing their own bit. Sarah is doing their own bit. Like we know, banks are doing their own bit. But what we have, and pardon I want to be candid on this conversation. What we have are, pardon my French, very sexy CSR efforts, right? That, a couple of millions, we have a good partner, a shining partner, that can deliver it well, an EDC, an NIP Africa, a junior achievement. We're able to reach the 20, the 100, the 50, the 150, maybe the 1,000 if we're very ambitious, right? But we are not moving the needle. In fact, what you find most times is that we are all serving the same pockets of young people.
Right.
The people that you are reaching are also coming from my program. We're all struggling for the same alumni pool.
Right.
At least to a large extent.
Even
right?
globally.
Right?
The same people are in the same rooms.
Yeah. So, kudos to what the efforts are being made. But you know the way it is.
Yeah.
Private sector is not incentivized enough to do that. That's not their priority.
Right.
So what is their priority will be their priority. Their priority is do business, earn a profit, and at best do it well and do it ethically. And pay attention to the planet and people, and be socially responsible. So by default, the ones that do that well will do that well, and they do that well. That's their priority. Non-profits, our goal is impact.
Yeah.
And then we have to make scale. But if we're going to achieve what we're talking about at scale, really leaving no young person behind, private sector will have to do more significantly. Faith-based organizations, whoosh, we have to do significantly more.
That's a big
area.
Yeah.
Right? Non-profit, obviously, would have to do more. We'd have to collaborate more. We would have to be more ambitious. Right? And we have to push the envelope, especially as it relates to policy and mainstreaming. And we have to get public sector to work for youth.
I like that you ended on the public sector thing, because if I were to follow up on that thought, the faith-based organizations, because they are a large chunk of our population as well. Every corner you find some place where we are trying to worship God. Can't we give these resources to the government?
From faith-based organizations.
From faith-based organizations.
Which government do you want to give? Which one? Which government can you?
I don't know.
No, government.
But how can we get our government to be that pool? That's what's the word? Common denominator between all of us. So we give it to them. They can then do it at scale.
They have to earn that.
That's the issue.
Not with the way government historically has been behaving, right? They have to earn that. They have to. By default, they're meant to be unifiers. They're meant to be orchestrators, right? But that's not the case, right? That's not the case. I feel like faith-based organizations and non-profits, third sector organizations broadly, which faith-based organizations are part of, technically, will be better at unifying, better at orchestrating,
Yeah.
and bringing the people together than government, because we suffer we're in a low trust society.
Absolutely right.
Especially
and for
towards
good reason
government.
too.
And for good reason. I mean, we can't.
We can, means
we
what
can't-
about
exactly.
it?
So, so yeah, if we want to do this at scale, I honestly don't want crisis to wake us up.
Don't we have a crisis though?
Yeah, very good question. Maybe the crisis is not yet eating home, but I don't want crisis to wake us up. I want a sense of duty and vision and mission to wake us up,
Right.
and keep us up, because it's not until when Lagos is on fire and Port Harcourt is on fire and Abuja is on fire that we'll now start thinking it's going to be too late,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And guess what? The beauty about young people is that if you make an investment into their agency, the fruits of it, society benefits. The innovations that will come out of them, the products that will come out of them, the music that will come out of them, we'll dance to, the movies that will come out of them, we will listen to,
Yeah.
the comedy we will laugh to, the products we will wear them, we will use them, the innovation we will ride them, right? So it's in our best interest to create an enabling environment for young people, right? And to create, the kind of structures and systems that will make them thrive, right? And see this as a national priority, right? Yeah, go ahead.
2 questions I have for you.
Yes, please.
The first one is on new wealth.
Yeah.
We think young people don't have enough agency, or we don't think a large proportion of young people have agency. But you also know very well that there are many young people that has got millions in their pocket. They've got access to dollars, they have access to naira, also in millions. But what are they doing with their resources? Are they thinking about giving back the way these philanthropists, I made an example this morning, Methodist, grammar schools, and all the schools we had, they were regular folks who gave of their own wealth. And it didn't need to be a lot of it. But now with all this content, an influencer that gives money back to the young person, what are they doing with it? Can we even
Shift.
their mind in a way?
We can. And I would say that some people are doing some things with their money. I mean, you think about, case in point, Chess in the Slum sold some chessboards some weeks back.
Oh,
Most of the people that bought it were Web3 people and tech bros,
okay.
right? Which was a way of donating to Chess to the Slums. So if you look at, there's definitely some level of philanthropy happening at that level, right? With people that have some means. Is it where we want it to be? Definitely not, right? We in fact, I think the whole concept of philanthropy and local philanthropy, we need to have a good conversation around it, because we're not doing the best of it. I know people will say there's already black tax. We're already giving to family. We're already subsidizing different issues in our community. So that's some level of philanthropy, yes. But that intentional utilization of philanthropic capital to advance a mission, and find the right vehicle to give it to in a consistent way is one of the things we would have to train this, I would say, even as a society, not even just the new generation.
Yeah.
We have to train society about it. But that's just even a few, that's just, I would say that's a minority. Because we're in a society where what people learned about money is oppression and show off.
That is a crisis.
That itself is a crisis.
If you say we are looking for a crisis, that itself is a crisis.
Yeah, so how have we socialized people?
Who socialized anybody?
Music socialized people, movies socialized people. So how many stars have courses they back with all intentionality?
Got it.
Think about it.
Got it.
So we are a society that have celebrated wealth, whether it's pure, whether it's impure. And then, so you find a category of young people, not everyone, who they come to some level of means.
Yeah.
It's a society of look out for yourself. So people are, how do people jackpot? They jackpot with the money the chain they were able to put together. Those who are jackpots become expensive for are still trying to scramble and find a way to. So I would say that we would have to. There definitely has to be a shift of mindset in society towards how we all have to invest into the good society we desire. I think there are elements of it going on, but I think we need to have deeper conversations and show more example.
Right.
Show more example, demonstrate more examples, spotlight more examples of it being done, because that's what builds society. It's
Right.
all hands on deck.
Right.
All hands, all heads, all hearts on deck. So that spirit of volunteerism, of giving back, not even before you make
doing
it, even
good.
and doing good, must be celebrated, must be reinforced as positive value. We must reinforce that value. We must socialize ourselves positively into that more and more and more and more. And then we would have but unconsciously, it's the public facing leadership that consciously, unconsciously perpetuates that. When I say public facing leadership, I'm not saying necessarily just public sector.
Correct.
I'm even saying the people that have influence, people that are, stars amongst us,
Celebrities
amongst us, what they sing about, what they celebrate, what they do, obviously replicates itself in society, right?
True.
So we have to be mindful of that and consciously ensure that we leverage our influence for good to perpetuate good in society. Yeah.
Let me take you up on agency. You talked about how we want to see more innovations and youth-led enterprises. In a way, you sort of touched on that. So I think it's happening.
Of course,
Have
it
you
is.
seen Make Nation?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, of course, it's my guy that's co-produced.
So if we have a movie like Make Nation and you took a young person outside of movies to even create that, how can we get the society to act right? I'm just perplexed by the fact that it took someone out of the movies, someone who doesn't do this. The idea that came from Toyosi and the help of all these young people that worked with her, it was not because she had a training in cinema or Nollywood, but it came from her. And that's a good one. But also link that to you are running these programs where you're seeing young Africans, collaborating and speaking about several things. How much agency do young people really need? And what is changing about our agency today? Did we have it better before? And what's wrong with the agency we've got now?
Okay, so the conversation around agency, the question is, what is agency? Agency, maybe at the base level, is knowing I can do something, right? Realizing that I have it within myself to make a choice and to navigate my choices and navigate it tomorrow from there and do something with life, right? And we use that word to describe how we are enabling young people to realize that agency and to utilize that agency to make a change, to change their circumstances and then change society, right? Of course, there's a lot of that going on. You've cited a very good example. I mean, I have a comment with that example because, first of all, Toyosi is not young.
Well, true. That's a fact.
Yeah,
you're right.
And Toyosi has been in this for years.
Very
right?
true.
So if there's anybody that has exercised that agency, she has done a lot of great things.
Very true.
Right. So, so I'm not talking. I'm on one hand saying that we have a lot of young people that have come to realize their agency, and we've enabled them through fellowships, through training, through mentorship to realize their agency. That on one hand, that is true. On another hand, we need to do it more because there are a lot of people who haven't realized their agency.
Right.
So I think that's what I'm trying to say there. I've actually not watched the movie. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see the movie this week. Actually, I've not seen the movie. I missed the premiere by Whiskas, but I'm going to see the movie. I heard it's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I've seen the trailers.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Salmist. I mean,
okay. And you have a creative side, even though you don't know how to sing and dance.
Oh yeah, but I have a creative side. I know that I'm very creative, so I know how to weave some things. I have agency, creative agency.
Creative agency.
In a way, yeah.
But we do need agency in every aspect of work. Even for those of us working behind the scene, on the table, behind the computer, everybody needs to unlock an agency within us to do better. But let's step away from agency and talk about LEAP, where we are now. What are your observations? In terms of no, I will set the context for you. Don't worry, I'm not putting you in a hot spot. So what are your observations? Because now we are quite clear in our 3-year plan that we want to definitely do the 3 E's plus AH, as we call it now, education.
Unfortunately, I've not read it.
It's
but
okay.
I know that it was doing. I have not read this. Yeah.
So it's still what we used to do. We've just called it out, and we are scaling on some of these things. So,
Okay.
I mean, the one that will surprise many people is the H1, which is the mental health and well-being. And when people hear it, it's very easy to sell. We're talking about
What are the 3 E's?
education, employability, entrepreneurship,
Okay.
and then active citizenship
And health,
and health. Yes.
mental health.
So
Okay.
that one is a bit interesting when people hear it. They
What about
always
leadership?
wonder.
Sorry.
So it's
Mainstreamed
is
in everything.
mainstreamed, is embellished.
Okay.
And I also think to a large extent that mental health and well-being is something we want to mainstream. So it's not like a standalone,
Okay.
but just being intentional about how we are factoring in mental agility, resilience, before we now even talk about resilience in any way. But the 3 E's plus A right now in my mind is very strong. Employability, we've spoken about education. So employability, let's talk about that for a minute. I know that, we are winding down already. But employability, the workplace has changed significantly. What do you think is useful for young people to know today about the workplace or the future of work or the workforce that we have now? Anything about that you want to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I like about the change that is happening is that as much as things are changing, some things don't change. Now, what has not changed? People want problem solvers.
Okay,
Right?
very true.
People want people that can solve problems, people that can add value. That has not changed. Now, how you go about creating value and solving problems might have changed, but there are some constants that won't change. So, as a young person, as the tides evolve and the waves go, you want to constantly think, how can I add value? What skill sets make me valuable?
Right.
What mindsets make me valuable? And how can I demonstrate that I can add value? That's basically what employability is.
Yeah.
So in the mix of people looking for jobs, there are people looking for people to hire. That's the
Very
funniest
true.
thing, right?
Very
People
true.
are always looking for, they're always open roles everywhere.
Very true. though.
Everywhere.
Very
And then
true.
people are
Open
looking
roles.
for, open roles everywhere. And even as we talk about, AI and these old AI buzz, before, even as it evolves and it lands, just think about it like calculator, right? Once upon a time, you were marked well because you could do arithmetic and do those fast maths.
Yeah, in
Then-
your mind.
It really did not matter. You still had to solve mathematical problems, but you had an enabler, calculator. So right now, the need to solve problems continue to exist and will continue to exist. But you just have another calculator, another set of tools that can help you do it faster and do it better. But the ability to innovate, the ability to be creative, the ability to manage yourself, manage time, manage people, those things will still be there.
Right. So
Right.
these are skills
These are skills, right?
and things that will make you
stand
in
out still.
demand and also stand out.
Exactly. And of course, because the world is getting heavily digitized, you cannot say, "Oh, I'm not going to tech things."
Yeah.
You have
Whether
to,
you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not, you have to learn some things. You have to learn how to at least utilize the tools that exist, even if you're not creating the tools. You have to learn how to utilize it and make the most of it, and use it to become more efficient and effective in the work that you do.
An area of employability that we don't look at is in public service. So I took a trip to Monrovia
You're flying now. Carry me along.
and I realized that, let's say 80% of the population are in public service.
Okay.
But how many of our population are in public service jobs? I don't know if they are advertised. I don't know how recruitment goes. I don't even know how people can now nurture a dream to even work in any parastatal now. I don't know. Do you know how these things are going?
Unfortunately, I don't know too much. What you describe is what they call civil service state.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily
A good thing.
something to aspire to.
I know, but
Where everybody, like
but
the
they're
critical mass.
but they're a recruiter.
Yeah, true. Public sector is
And
also
they
another
should
sector.
be able
And
to
we need
take-
talents there.
Yeah, we do
We
need.
need talents there. We need problem solvers there. Okay, so I'm just reflecting on the conversation I had like 2 days ago with a young person who had the opportunity of working in public service and immediately started looking for a way out because he felt that he was wasting away. I know that's not true for every public service organization, but there are definitely opportunities there, to create value and to add value and to solve problems. but it's a whole different ballgame entirely.
Right.
Different types of politics within that sector. If you are privileged to get into the right agency that values hard work and values the excellence you can bring in,
Right.
then that's good for you.
Because we do need the
Yeah.
three. We
We
need
need the
young
three.
people as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We need them in corporate and third sector.
Yeah.
And we still need them in the private sector.
Yeah.
I remember my parents were public servants.
Yeah, we definitely need talent in public
We do
service.
need it.
We need it. Yeah.
Let's move to citizenship as
Yeah.
a way to wind down, because I know that entrepreneurship, everybody is an entrepreneur, and any country that is serious about economic development must have a lot of young people who are entrepreneurs. And one thing that fascinates me about the global north is they're mostly entrepreneurs, even when they have their jobs, but it's right there. But citizenship, we know what's in the news. The race for 2027 has started. First of all, I'm impressed. I cannot
Me
lie.
too.
I'm impressed that the conversations started early. We're not waiting till next year before we know what's happening. I think in a normal environment, we should have the conversations concurrently. Opposition should be declared, trackers should be released, and that helps us to make our decision by the time we get there, not in the year that we're about to. So, citizenship. I know that some people are still traumatized. A few people that I've had conversation with are still traumatized. But from your own perspective, what do you think young people are feeling towards 2027?
In that case, I cannot speak on behalf of young persons.
Can you speak for yourself?
All I know is that yes, young people have been hurt, but they have to be resilient. It's not a short-term battle. I would say battle. It's a marathon, and I would say that they should keep at it. You've been seeing my post on keep at it.
I saw it.
This is one area where they have to keep at it because
it's not one thing.
it's the soul of their nation, it's the soul of society that they're fighting for. And they have to participate.
Yeah.
They've lost the battle if they don't participate. That's the truth. If you don't participate, and there are different dimensions of participation. At the very least, get your PVC, right? And
That's
be
one.
ready to vote. Secondly, find other ways to participate. Now, governance has come somewhat closer to you. Local government elections are happening. There's some level of devolution of powers there.
Yeah.
How can you participate at that level? Another thing is that you need to understand the game.
What's the game?
Good question. I think I asked the question, of my friends some weeks back in another way, but I asked this same question last week. We had a very interesting, very heated conversation. This was at an Pan-African level. We had young people from 13 countries gathered. And the summary of it was that, are we too naive to be transformative?
Wow.
Are we too naive to transform Africa at the speed and scale that we want it? Now, the truth of the matter is that we're not an utopian society where everything it's not a perfect electoral system. It's not, the game is rigged. That's the truth. Society is rigged. And I think young people should learn and expose themselves and understand the game more.
Right.
So that they can
Not to be
They should
sentimental.
not be. So I would say,
Yeah.
please, if anything 2023 taught us is don't be sentimental about these things. The game is the game, I would say. I mean, I just had a shift in that conversations we had.
Wow.
I realized that to be frank, we've been very naive.
Wow.
And we have to be more calculated, more circumspect
Right.
in the moves that we make.
Right.
And we have to be more circumspect. That's what I would say. So to young people there, please bring your heart to the game, do it ethically, but understand that this game is rigged and you have to be smarter
Right.
in what you do and how you show up.
And you have to be involved from now.
From now, yeah, because you've lost the battle if you don't engage. If you say, you have to be involved. You have to be involved.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot in that area. That one,
Citizenship is one area that you're right. Every single time our mind goes back to the years that Obasanjo was president, the first time, 1979. How old was he? And all those presidents, Murtala Muhammad, how old was he? Now, how old are we? And we are talking about other things. Let's not talk about what young people are talking about. Thankfully, I don't know what is going on YouTube these days. I mean, Twitter, there's no urgent 2K conversation, obviously, but young people are too comfortable and they are waiting to do just one thing and then they give up. So this idea, or advice rather, you've given is very smart for us to not be naive that one time you push and you think it's done. We need to do much more with it. But that's all from me.
Thank you, Kenny.
I really enjoyed just catching up with you
we should do this
and
again.
seeing, what exactly is still
We've
out
done
there.
the youthful part. We have to do the useful part another time.
We have to do the useful, how young people can be useful.
Yeah.
What exactly do we need to do? Even though they've heard it before, what do we need to say to them that will help them get there? But I've had a fantastic time just
Same here.
Reflecting again. Thank you, Femi.
And a big happy 23rd anniversary to Leap Africa.
Happy anniversary, Leap Africa.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, listener. This is our 23rd anniversary podcast special. And this is just saying that Leap Africa is still very committed to developing ethical, principled leaders who will eventually lead innovative solutions across all sectors and industries on the continent. We will do our best within the ecosystem, like Femi has challenged us, to continue to invest in these priority areas that affect young people. We can only do so much, but together we can do much more. And so we are reaching out to say, do the best you can, do much more than you're doing right now, and do not be too comfortable in your skin knowing that somebody else will do what you cannot do. Thank you.